What's up guys, my name is Eliminate, and today I'm going to be doing a track breakdown of my song Multiplex on Disciple Alliance Volume 6. This is what the original song sounds like.
Targets acquired. Eliminate.
So I'm just going to run through how I made that sound right now. This sound is actually just sort of birthed from, if you will, just some kind of random crappy little synth that I had in Serum, which I then exported to audio, which on its own sounds like this. Kind of like a scraping a rake on a piece of concrete fart type sound. And then when I have the processing added to it, it sounds like this. So I'll just go ahead and run through the processing chain here. So the first thing we have is Portal. And pretty much the only thing going on here is just pitch automation through Portal. I'm not using any of these effects. It's just got the scale on free tuning and the size at 4:1 and the density at 1/64. And then you can see here the pitch knob is being automated. That's creating some movement right there through the pitch knob and Portal. After that, we just have an OTT naturally. I believe we have, okay. No, we just have one OTT on this. So yes, we have one OTT on after that. Then through parametric EQ2, we just have like the slightest EQ adjustment here, which really isn't doing much, just kind of boosting the highs a tad bit. After that, I have disperser, which kind of creates like some bandpassy lasery effect, I suppose, which makes it sound like this. You can kind of hear it on the upper tones of the sound there. There's a little like sort of, I don't know, it's just like a kind of like a bandpass like yeah sound or something. If you listen carefully, you can hear it. Then after that, I have a formant filter. And that is giving it kind of this like spooky horror sound, hollow, horrific, horror sounding sound. After that, this is where the sound really kind of takes off. I have an instance of Vocodex. And you can see here I just kind of like ducked it down in the mid-range a little bit. And at the moment, we don't have anything inside this Vocodex being automated. It's just kind of all chilling here. These respective settings. After that is a frequency shifter. And that's kind of what's giving it the really sort of minimalistic crunch sweeping movement here. It's mostly just being automated below the 0 mark. So it doesn't really go high up at all. It just kind of ducks down and then keeps doing that repeatedly, which is making it just sort of like squashed and crunched. Then after that, I just have one more EQ here that is just taking out some of the low end. And then over here, just one instance of reverb, and that's just for filling space throughout the track. Okay, so now that I've gone through the basic chain, what I did after this is I just exported the entire thing to audio, meaning this chain kind of just goes bye-bye, and we have this sound in a completely separate audio form. So just to reiterate, the process that we went through here turned this sound into this. Now let's go over this sound right here. This is pretty much just all Portal. It's one serum preset that I have here. And I basically, in order to get this MIDI, I just had my cat walk along the keyboard and he kind of just smashed in a bunch of random notes, and this is what we got. And then I have the pitch 24 semitones up and down, which gave us this sound. And then one nice little instance of Portal here, basically doing the exact same thing as before, where we just have the pitch being automated. Which gives us this. The pitch automation in Portal is really cool because when you have like kind of just a weird little blippy squeaky sound like this, when you go up, it just sort of scatterbrains the sound. And then if you just kind of throw in like any random automation, it'll basically, instead of having your original just one singular little MIDI pattern, it kind of chops it up into a million pieces, puts it in its palm, and then just blows it everywhere. And then you get this. Okay, so the next sound that I'm gonna go over is this one right here. This is actually just my voice that I recorded spouting gibberish. If I take off all of if I take off all the effects, this is what it sounds like. It's literally just me saying absolutely nothing. And then when I add these effects on, we get this. So I'll run through this real quick. It's just an OTT, a little bit of EQ taking out some bottom end. I have a little bit of delay going on here, which gives us this sound. Then I have this filter, this low pass, to give it a little bit more movement. Some distortion, just kind of sprinkle it on there, saturate it a little bit. Very subtle. Disperser for that same effect. It's kind of like this just weird, cool little bandpass. Adds like a little sprinkle on the high end that just sort of squeaks it. Puts it in reverse and it squeaks it. You can see right here through this automation that we are just automating the frequency of the disperser as such. After that, another Portal doing the same thing that it usually always does with the pitch. So the Portal is really kind of taking it to a whole new level with the wonkiness. And then I have Vocodex here as well, which gives it kind of it takes the sound that we've already crafted here and just kind of adds some robotronics to it. We're not automating anything in Vocodex, it's just kind of sitting there chilling on top. And then once on top of that, and even another instance of delay to level up the robotronics. And ultimately, that's what we're left with. And so pretty much what I did is all of those sounds that I just went over, I resampled to audio, and then I kept working on the project from there. So that's why I just had to go back to the original files here to run through the processing chains. Now I'll take you guys through the entire song that we've broken down the sound design. I can show you how everything fits together. Okay, so now let's go through the whole song. So if you've heard the intro, which I don't know if you have yet, but if you haven't, I just kind of like decided to go with this really sort of unique idea that I had. I just thought it might be cool to like push the envelope a little bit, create something a little different. And ultimately what I ended up doing is I just decided to completely rip off Barely Alive. So I'll go ahead and play it for you right here. I started off with just this cool little bass top line melody. Of this cool kind of like 80s synth, and then I made this be just sort of the core theme of the intro, and then I have everything in the intro bit crushed to create kind of like a little video game effect, and then that builds us up into this sort of more filled out intro right here.
Elimination is imminent.
So this is just sort of a melodic section here, crafted with a bunch of different stuff. There's this sort of bottom saw melody. Then we have a sub underneath that. It's modulating. Excuse me. So subs modulating there, and then we have this little 80s pluck here. And then on top of all that, we have the same melody from the intro that is put on top of that, going like this. So just absolutely flooded with reverb. And then for the kick drum, I just decided to, why not just set it free. The kick drum just hits every single bar, or the kick drum just hits every single note except for the snare. And then when the snare comes in, and then you put all those things together and you get this. So when you're crafting a song, specifically like, well, any song really, but if it's an EDM song, I think it's really important to kind of create some type of connection between the intro and the drop, because if they're not related at all, it's almost like you're playing two different songs. So just do your best to try and make some sort of pathway that connects whatever intro you have with the drop. In this particular scenario, I didn't do any of that. I did literally none of that. Absolutely nothing. There is zero connection between the drop and this intro. They're two different songs. Whatever, fuck you. So it just sort of glitches out here into this build. And then this sound right here is just chopped up from everything that we made earlier. I just kind of cut it up and played around with it some more here. Which leads us into our drop.
Targets acquired. Eliminate.
So this sound in the drop I resampled from the earlier version, and basically what I did is I took it and I pitched it down 5 semitones, and I added just even another vocodex here for even more robotronics. And also this cool little reverb tail here really launches it into the drop. And then I just kind of cut everything, all the post effects, just to complete dryness once the snare comes in. So it's just this lone little squeaky, rusty robot arm moving around here on the drop. And then we have here this is my my voice synth here that we already went over before. And then a lot of these little fillers here, everything here is just cut up, resampled, processed even more from the original sound that I went over in the beginning of the video. And then we have our little portal sound here. Back into our little groove. This part right here is exactly the same. All I did was just add another instance of delay over the resampled audio. for even more Robotronics. And then this part right here, it's all just cut up from the resampled audio, pitched down a bunch, and then kind of frequency shifted a little bit here too. So if I take off, excuse. If I take off all the effects, you can kind of hear remnants of the original sound right here. And then I put on the effects, which are delay, as well as the vocodex and the frequency shifter, and then it's just kind of pitched down a little bit to create this. All right, so then after that, it just kind of sweeps right on back into our cool little melodic section here that has no relation to any of the other part of the song. I sampled I put some whale sounds in here for branding purposes and consistency, and you know, just a genius marketing move on my end there. And then sort of like a vibey swoop through here. This section is exactly the same as the intro. I just switched up the MIDI on this part a little bit so it kind of goes up. And going into the second drop, I just sort of chopped up the same audio that we've been working with this whole time into a different pattern. So it goes like this. Basically, you can see here all the audio is just chopped up into these little, sort of like a groovy little triplet pattern. And then on top of that, I just have just some more delay so that it's not as dry as the first drop. And then during these silences, there's just that little bit of delay on the sound that kind of fills in a little bit more space. Yeah, so that's pretty much all of the processing, all of the sound design that went into this song, and then a little bit of just an idea on how everything was put together. And that's it. I couldn't really explain my mental thought process while doing this. It just sort of happened. So thanks for watching. Make sure you check out Disciple Alliance Volume 6. All right. Thank you for watching, guys. See ya.
Eliminate.